Hi everyone, welcome to Underwriting One-on-One. Today we'll be going through the simple and easy way to actually underwrite your mobile home parks deals. And that will be a really good lesson because we have people send us deals all the time, and we would love for you all to know at least basic underwriting. Is it a deal or not a deal? How do we look at those deals? How do we decide if we want to go deeper and learn more, or we just pass and don't waste our time? So I will be sharing my screen now.
Good.
Okay, so we will be going through 20 minutes underwriting framework for mobile home parks. Again, it's an underwriting one-on-one. It's not a full deep breakdown. You cannot decide if you want to buy the deal or not, but you can understand if it's a deal or not, and if you want to move forward and do deeper underwriting.
Yeah, 'cause
So
the biggest thing is just going to be you don't want to get stuck and waste a bunch of time on something that's so far apart that you can't even hardly negotiate it down. You may just have to wait for them to get motivated. But go ahead, Darina.
yeah, so just one second. Okay. My name is Dorina, and we have Tyler here, and we buy mobile home parks. This is our buy box, you guys. You can see it on easymhp.com. You can see it on poormansmultifamily.com. If we're not friends on Instagram yet, please follow us. We want to know you. That's the best and easiest way to remember each other. It's to follow on Instagram. Because I know we love blinks, but honestly, how often do you go through your blink contacts? Not really often, but we all scroll through Instagram. So you can, if you have any deals that match our buy box, please submit them through the website or just scan this QR code and send them our way. Let's work together. So, how do we actually evaluate deals in 20 minutes? The problem, as Tyler mentioned, most investors spend hours or days analyzing mobile home parks, but they still make mistakes. They come to analysis paralysis. Is it a good deal, bad deal? How do I actually know what kind of deal it is? So, what if there's a better way? And we will be talking today about framework that actually help you quickly separate good deals from bad deals. Here's the minimum. In order for us to actually underwrite the deal, there's a minimum required checklist that you all will receive. I will send you a link. You will be able to copy, download, save it to yourself. In order to underwrite the deal, even with this framework, you still need to get minimum information. And this is a minimum, bare minimum of the information that we need to receive in order to underwrite the deal. To make a,
And it's
yeah.
go ahead. I'm just going to say, and it's because it's going to flow into this. Like what we're talking about is one of the quick ways that I do it, the back of the napkin math per se, because you don't want to get hung up and dragging your feet on something if there's no potential. Like the last deal I was underwriting today, that one we got from the challenge, it was like a $16 million deal, but if you actually underwrote it at like an eight cap, it was an $8 million purchase. So I mean, and nobody's going to take an $8 million haircut off what they got it listed at when it's only been like 15 or 20 days. So that's one that you wouldn't want to go and underwrite and go back and forth with right away because you're wasting your time. And to figure that out, we have to have those things right there at the beginning.
Yeah. Otherwise, we just come back and say, hey, we need to, if we see the potential, we will go back to brokers and ask for that. But sometimes when you receive too many deals, you just have preference and review those that actually have the minimum required information. So we will be talking today about underwriting. What is underwriting? Maybe someone is new and they're like, what are they talking about? So underwriting will help you just to understand if the deal makes sense or not. And there are simple steps. Tyler, will you share what steps to?
Yeah, yeah. When this is not on here, first of all, you got to have the address. You're going to get the address. You're going to key it in on Google, and you want to make sure it's in proximity to things. If you look at our buy box, it's the you want to make sure it's got the population. That's what I was looking for. The population's high enough, so you've got enough demand for rentals, and that's like 100,000 to 300,000 people in that metro area. And you don't have to write that down. If you look at our buy box, it specifically says how many people for the population, and that's all about making sure we have enough demand for the property. So if you got your address and you can put it in Google and you look and you see, is it close to a Home Depot? Is it close to a Starbucks? Do I have a Walmart or a Lowe's nearby? And the population's good enough. Then the next thing you would do is look at the pad count, which is what it says. You would go, how many pads do I have? And you do that to get your income. So that's leads into step one. You would take my number of pads that I have in my park, my developed pads that are actually have tenants on, and I would take that times the market lot rent, or not the market lot rent, the current lot rent. So somewhere on there, they'll tell you either they'll say what the market is, or they'll say what the current is, or if you can get a rent roll, of course you can use that. But you just take your current lot rent times your number of pads, and then you multiply that times 12. It's 12 months. It's just my nuts. So if I got a 50 pad park and I have all 50 pads occupied, I take 50 pads times, let's say my lot rent was $500. So you do 50 pads times $500, and then you take that number times 12, and then it'd be like 300,000 would be your estimated gross income. And then you would take that number once you get your estimated income, which is why we have to know the pads and things. And this leads into the rest of that information.
Yeah.
After you get your gross income, you want to take it and you're just gonna estimate based off these expense ratios. You just gotta go to on the next slide what the expenses are gonna be from the park.
Yeah. Should we go to the last slide that we just did?
Yeah, we can go there.
Okay, so we can go through this.
Okay. So once you get your gross income, like I said, number of pads times what they're charging for lot rent times 12 months, estimated gross income. You're going to then, based on what kind of park it is, and this is information, this is where mobile home parks kind of differ. You have to figure some of this stuff out to get a good estimate. You're going to take one of these expense ratios. So the holy grail of parks, if it's city water and city sewer and all my utilities are direct billed, and I don't have any of those bills, they get billed straight to the tenants, and I'm not responsible for water, I'm not responsible for any kind of septic or sewage, then that typically runs on about a 35% expense ratio, which says 35 to 37. And um, that estimate includes all our expenses except for debt service. So when I'm talking about these ratios, these expense ratios that you can use to estimate, this includes all, it'll include vacancy, it includes our management, all the normal expenses you would have. This is a good estimate for that, except it doesn't include debt service. So
So what if seller says that I only have 20% expenses even though I have septic?
yeah, well, they're going to say that a lot. Most of the time, they're going to be not including everything. They probably hadn't made any repairs to it. And see, when you take over an older septic system, that's one of the things you have to factor in. If it's been there a while and you do your inspections, you're going to have ongoing repairs. Most of the time, that's why you ask for the T12 because, like you said, they may not have a high expense. Like a good example is a septic system. If it's running properly, you won't have an expense for a while. And then whether it gets stopped up or whether you have to pump it or whether it just, fails, mechanically fails, all of a sudden you'll have one month where you have a big expense. And see, and a lot of times they want to include that.
Right. So we want to know what the current income for lot rents. We want to know all the expenses. That's why we need T12. And so we know the net operating income. Once we have net operating income, what do we do next?
Yeah, once you go through those, flip that last slide again, Dorena, with the expense ratios. Once you go through and decide, and you'll get to see this, but if it's got city water and sewer, whether it's smaller, once you can decide for which expense ratio you need to use based on the information you found out, you get your net income. And then, um, well, there's two ways. So if say if my net income is $100,000 and I know that the market's got a 10 is a 10 cap, then I would divide that by point 0.1 to get my purchase price
But
of a
what is
million
cap
dollars.
rate? Because someone maybe not know like what the cap rate.
Yeah, so a cap rate is basically what I mean. It's got a definition there. The simple form of cap rate is it's what people in the commercial business use to evaluate properties. So, like if you talk to a broker and
It's your
you
return. It's your return interest rate, right?
do what?
It's-
It's your return if you it's your expected return if you were to purchase the property with cash.
Okay. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Thanks.
it's basically what it is. But they're just get all the brokers and the people, whether it's apartments or mobile home parks, they're all evaluated based on the cap rates, and they all differ per market. Uh, but like the a good estimate, and this is what I think is what we're relating to, because you're like, how do I know what a cap rate is for a market? Well, the best estimate is to call a broker and see what they're trading for in that market. If you just want like a Google form, you can type the name of the town in. Like for instance, we were in Florida, so we'd like Gainesville cap rate, and then it should pop up most of the time it's first, sometimes it's second to apartmentloanstore.com. And you can scroll down there to look at the suburban C class.
Let me mute. Jean,
Yeah.
want to hear from you later when there's Q&A. Guys, mute
Yeah.
yourself.
But if you go to apartment loan store and then scroll to find the suburban C class, you're all the way over to C class, then you take that cap rate and add 3 points to it. And that's a good estimate of what the cap rate would be for a mobile home park in that market.
Yeah, but to understand the cap rate for the specific property, we will take NOI, but make sure don't use pro forma for NOI. Just use the
Yeah.
actual current one and divide it by the purchase price. So if, for example, we have NOI 100 and the purchase price, asking purchase price 1,500,000, the cap rate will be 6.7. Is it
Mm-hmm.
a good cap rate or bad?
Well, it's dependent. It's not good for us because we're using 8% money.
Yes.
So if I'm borrowing at 8%, typically you need to buy about 3 points higher than your debt. So we need to be about 11 cap, or you need to have value add that will be able to get you there. It's a little nuanced, but
Yeah, so sometimes we tell people, hey, thank you so much for submitting the deal, but it's overpriced. But how do actually people understand what the price should be?
yeah. Well, if you take the actual in place, like we did a minute ago, the in place lots times lot rent times 12 months, take away your expenses to get your estimated net income. If you take that estimated net income and divide it by what you think the cap rate should be from, say, apartment loan store, like say you went on there, found out the market was about a 10 cap, and then you take your estimated net income and divide it by that point 0.1 or 10 cap, it'll give you your what the price will be. So for an example, what did you say? We said, let's say the net income was $100,000. And then if I divided that by a 10 cap with point 0.1, my estimated purchase price would be a million. So if I estimated that the purchase price, the net income was $100,000, I'd be trying to buy that property for a million if it was at a 10 cap.
Yeah, and if it's listed for 3 millions,
If it's for 3 million, it's probably not a good for us because
and
nobody's
you
going to
guys,
come
you,
off two
you
million
should just
dollars.
add if the property listed for 3 millions, but you think it's worth 1 million, you can just wait. You can add it to your system, but this is a deal that we will pass. We will not be reaching out to brokers. Maybe we can get motivation, but honestly, there's no motivation if it's overpriced 3 times. So we went through all the steps and let's just repeat for easy for analysis. Let's
Yeah.
just go through steps quickly because
Yep.
some people may hear the first time like what is cap rate, etc. So let's just go over it.
Well, and it's easier when I'm writing down. I'm sorry, guys. I don't have where I can write down and show it on the screen yet. But so to walk through it one more time, it is like we go through, we get our address of our park, we figure out that it's in a populated enough area. Like we look back at our buy box, you can tell that it's in a populated enough area that we have good demand. Then you start getting the other information. How many pads has it got? And we won't develop pads. We don't want potential pads. You don't want to include pads that aren't ready. Um, that the broker said that there's potential that they could add 50 pads, but they only have 20 right now. You just want what are the developed pads that you could go in and stick a home on right now. So you take the developed number of pads and you would multiply it times what the current lot rent they're charging is, not the whole income, just the lot rent. And you would take that lot rent times 12 months to get our estimated annual gross income. Just the income that it could potentially make for the whole year before any expenses.
But the best will be to get it from T12 to see the actual numbers for the last 12, right?
Oh yeah, this is just napkin math. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
this is just to see before I go request all my documents over and over again, are we even close? Like, should I pursue or should we walk away? So when you get there, you roll to that last slide and you pick out um, which expense ratio you need. Like, is it county water and sewer? Is it septic? Does it have a bunch of park-owned homes? You pick one of those and you take that expense ratio away from the gross income to get your net income. Once you get your net income from there, you can figure out if it's a deal or not by either going to apartment loan store to get it to figure out what the market cap rate for the area may be. Or if you've already got a purchase price, you can take the net income and divide it by the purchase price they're asking, and it'll tell you what cap rate that they're asking for the property. And that's it. And if we're too far away, then the last step, debt service. Yeah, it's important to note that this does not include debt service these are all before debt. So like the net income is before debt, but it's also important to notice that we don't want to buy properties that are just losing money. So like we need to look at these based on that avenue, but you need to remember whether it's just for your own or if you're going to bring it to us that whatever that net income is, you've still got to pay debt service out of that. So maybe it does look like a deal, maybe it's a cap rate wise, but just remember that before you go all the way through it, you've got to go back and account for paying your debt service out of that net income.
Love it. So that was a quick underwriting one-on-one, and you guys, we will post recorded on Tyler's YouTube. So go ahead and subscribe. I will send you the link. So you can go back if you ever need, because these are property standard, like standard expenses. If someone tells you that you have septic and well and the expense is 20%, they're just lying.
Yeah, I mean, it all varies, but like it doesn't vary that
But
much.
not 20%. There's
No,
no
that's
way.
what I'm saying. So it's a good general rule of thumb, and it's usually pretty close. And I know that was just talking through math is not always easy to convey. So like if y'all have any questions, now's a great time to just
Yeah,
ask them.
I will quickly go through resources and then we will open for Q&A. So we have resources for open resources that you can use. It says when you open this link through this code, when you go through that, or I can send out you guys the link as well. You will get this folder and it says open this first. Once you open that, it says if you want to be part of the private Zooms, we hold them every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you submitted a deal within the last 14 days for our review that kind of close to our buy box, you're welcome to come. We actually go through actual deals. We underwrite them live. We show and we give feedback and we answer all your questions. And we also have monthly public Zoom that you're welcome to join as well. And you guys have all the link and you had to register for that. We also have the Facebook group that you're welcome to join, ask any questions. We will be giving you answers. Any park that you're working on, please ask your question there. There's also our buy box. Again, this is the buy box that we have. We're looking for Florida, 40 pets plus, and also Sunbelt states, 80 pets plus. and you can go and read it. There's also video explanation. We go in details, and here's Tyler's YouTube. I will drop it in a chat, so you guys go and subscribe. Be kind. And there's a checklist. This will be really helpful for you if you start or if you're actively looking for parks. That's something that you want to download, maybe print or save it. There's minimum checklists that you must have in order to underwrite the deal. Even napkin underwriting, you still have to know expenses, income, etc. And then I also have bigger checklist that you can explore and more questions, because the more you know, the better decision you can make. One of the main thing is to know why seller wants to sell. Like, do they need to sell, or do they want to sell? What the motivation for their for them to sell this park? Because that can change a lot. And even if they asking for millions, but they need to sell fast, you will be able to negotiate. So there's also PDF that you can just download and use. Again, all of it for you guys to use. You can just scan this QR code, and I will drop the link in a chat as well. And now you can ask any questions, guys.
Okay, I have a question about the sheet where you were showing the expenses and how much, like, the percentages. So the percentages that you were showing, that is not based on your NOI. Like, is that based on the NOI, or that based on the gross income? Like, what percentages do those represent?
So those percentages represent the expenses. So
Only. Okay.
yeah, the expenses for the park. So picture like that first step that I talked about a couple of times, or just what is the potential income for the park right now?
Mhm.
Gross income before any expenses. Like what can my lots produce as revenue?
Okay.
Or basically what are they producing it as revenue for the lot rent? Because we don't want to pay for potential. Um, and then since a lot of times mobile home parks, like it's hard to get the T12. They're not going to always give you everything until you sign everything or until you submit an LOI. You can't get all the information all the time. So
Mhm.
if you know the information about the park, like is it city water and sewer, what kind of utilities, you can get how many pads, how many of them are vacant. That list Doreen had, like if you find those things out, then you can take those things and kind of use one of those expense ratios to get your expenses, because you're not going to be accurate on all your expenses until, I mean, even when the broker sends it to you, if the broker sends it to you, they're not always going to be accurate. And then when you
Mhm.
get into underwriting an actual park, like if an LOI gets accepted, you're going to have to request like bank statements and things like that, because a lot of these mom and pop mobile home parks, even ones that aren't mom and pop, they're not going to have good record keeping if they have it at all. You know, they were taking cash, they didn't run everything through the bank, they sure
Mhm.
didn't have anything on, financials. If they did, it was quick books and it's just done at the end of the year by their accountant. So, so that's why it's good. It's going to be hard to get all these relevant expenses beforehand. So this is a good way to use to move on like forward without having to get stuck on something.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for the lesson and the resources.
Yeah, no problem.
I just sent in resources in a chat, so you can guys copy and save the link, and you're welcome to use. Hi, Paris, you have a question.
Hey.
Hi, yeah. So are these expenses, do they include the insurance on the
Yeah.
whole part?
Yeah. So like I said, this is just a napkin math, back in napkin math where you're trying to figure out, do I, like for you, especially when in Burton, do I pursue it forward farther, or like, is this a waste of my time? Yeah, but yes, it includes all that. Like I say, estimate it includes everything but debt service.
Got it.
Insurance
Okay,
ratio should be a good estimate for everything, except it does not include debt service.
got it. And are there I've barely seen, barely seen anyone buying in Florida, RV parks. I think you're one of the rare ones that you said you were in Florida. Are there any downsides of, insurance wise buying mobile home parks in Florida?
Hurricanes, but that's why we try to stay focused on Central Florida. Um, and there would be no flood zones, there. And we're located pretty close, so that's also one of the upsides about it. And it's just a growing market. So the downside would be, the weather threat, but the fact that we buy in Central Florida, which Doreen has got an image on that, I'm sure,
Yes,
of
let
where we're
me.
trying to acquire parks at. She could probably drop it in the chat or something. Um, and it kind of mitigates that risk.
Got it. Thank you. Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Let me show. I will show quickly the map. Yeah, and it's not only Central Florida, also Sunbelt, but just bigger parks. I think like North Carolina, South Carolina, we would look at some deals.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's what she said. That the reason that like we're trying to aggregate a group of parks along this she's about to show. And that's why we said 40 plus. Yeah, there it is. So we're trying to buy parks along there that are 40 plus pads because we can get good economies of scale and I could potentially buy some smaller stuff there then. And we're located there. But everywhere else, like farther Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, the rest of the Sun Belt states, we would look at 80 pads and up or anything close to that. And it's just for the simple fact that we may never do another deal in Texas or in Alabama. But if it was a badass 80 pad park that we could add value to, it'll sustain itself as a business. And now we may never have to buy anything there again. Whereas those group of parks we're trying to aggregate on this in Central Florida, I wouldn't want a random 40 pad park somewhere because they all take the same amount of work. And if I'm never going to buy anything there again, potentially, I want to know it's going to sustain itself.
Does it answer the question?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Okay. James.
What's up,
Yeah,
James?
I got another insurance question. Never having done a mobile home park, and since you're not dealing with like actual structures, I guess, unless you have home park owned homes, right? Uh,
Yeah.
Take that out of the equation. If you just have lots, what are you insuring? What's your insurance look like?
Liability. I mean, that's what it would be. It'd be liability if you had any other structures on the building, like some type of a clubhouse or some kind of management office or something, it would have insurance on it. But I mean, if you don't have any park on homes, if you're straight lot rent, you're right. I mean, that kind of takes it out of the equation. And
Okay,
then if you acquire a park and sell the homes back to them, same case scenario, you're only underwriting insurance for a portion of time until you get rid of the houses.
gotcha. All right, just kind of curious about that. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, we do have a lot of park on homes though, so right, mainly in South Georgia right now. So I do have to carry insurance on those. Just carry a cash value policy. It's basically what I do.
Okay. We have Kim. Hi, Kim.
Hey Kim.
And spouse or partner. Let us know your name.
Hi guys, how are y'all doing?
Hi.
So quick question
Mr.
in
Kim.
regard, I'm sorry, I missed that.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So quick question in regard to if you find a park that's has a well and septic, is there a different percentage that we need to use to figure in the cost for that, or is it just something you guys aren't interested in at all?
Yeah, I think it's on there. Adrian, can you show it again? Well, in septic, I think that's going to be like the
Yeah.
40% range probably.
Okay. Okay, I missed that. I
We missed it,
apologize.
sorry.
It is. No, it's okay. It's a good question. I mean, and that's what I'm saying. Like it kind of varies, and it is more of a art than a science. That's what I'm saying. Like the best you're going to get is like that 35%, and that's with all your repairs and everything in there. If you don't have if it's city water and sewer, that's just like your best case scenario. So when people say they're less than 35%, I don't believe them really. Uh, but yes, but then based on the different scenarios, you would adjust that number up basically, the 35%. So like if it's city water but septic, maybe you bump up to 40%. But if it's septic and well, like you said, maybe you bump it up to 45%. It's just an adjustment.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
But
Yep.
that's to begin with, and then you still need to get actual numbers and verify that that's true.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, that shouldn't go without being said, but I mean, you have to verify everything. This is just, do we move forward or not? Is it worth our time and conversations going forward, or do we move on to something else?
It's just all to guys to save you time and also us time when we go through these deals. And we always give feedback why we cannot move forward, but it just helps when we all educate ourselves. Hi, Ash.
Hey guys, appreciate the meeting. It's awesome. Actually, as a park I'm looking at right now, I'm looking to put an LOI on. I wanted to ask you guys, for the debt side, any lenders you guys recommend or are good for financing RV parks?
I'm gonna let I'm gonna let Dorena speak to the lender portion. I mean, I always suggest a community bank in the area that you're buying. It's going to be a great resource. They want to be in the area, and they usually have more flexible terms. Mobile home park and that. How big is it?
It's small, it's 35 pads. It's a
Okay,
small
that's what I would
park.
suggest then. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's smaller park, and you can definitely, I would suggest to build relationship with credit unions because you will get better terms. Can you get loan from just a broker? Absolutely, yes. I can connect you. Um, I can send actually her information in a chat as well. But you will not get same terms from brokers that try to make the best, like, and make money. And credit unions, they trying to help the local community, so they will definitely be more helpful, and they will give you more money because the other brokers that just making money, that's their business, they will be more conservative.
Yeah. What
Yeah.
do you guys see? Oh,
Okay.
what are you guys seeing like in LTV?
My community bank, and this is going to differ everywhere with the community banks, but the one that I've used for the majority of my mobile home park purchases is 85% LTV.
But
Oh,
that's not going to happen with the lenders that I'm going to send you. It will be like more 65, 70
Yeah,
max.
that's what I'm saying. So that's why it pays to go talk to the community banks in the area because
yeah.
they all differ on what they can or what they're willing to do. And it's more relationship based than anything, you know. If they like you, if you've got a good business plan, if they think it'll make money, um, it's good. And then, you know, and other lenders are also a resource, you know, maybe even a second position or something like that.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Ash, thanks.
And also you can do more on smaller park too. If seller is
Yeah.
willing to carry the second position, it's really easy to do.
Yeah. It's a bit messy on that side, so I was looking at that. I just don't think it would work for this deal. But yeah,
Good luck, man. That's awesome.
thanks.
Jonathan, hi.
What's up, Jonathan?
Hi, what's up? So my question is, I understand this is a go no go kind of breakdown. Where would you recommend, or do you have a bigger list of things you need once you say yes?
Oh, so yeah, so that's a great question. We actually will be going through the deep underwriting with people who join our bird dogging team, kind of lead finders, and we go deeper into weeds, how to underwrite. But
How do
here,
we do that?
so yeah, I sent a resources here. I will.
Yeah, I got that.
Okay. So if you can go through buy box and video requirements, and if you can submit at least one deal that will be similar to what we're looking for, you will get invitation for the Zoom, and we host private Zooms every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. I also will have bonus Zooms for private Zooms this Friday at 2 p.m. Central and Monday at 10 a.m. Central time, and we going through actual deals. It was so funny. I was talking with Tyler. I wanted to give you guys actual example how we underwrote the deal, but then I was like, we actually signed NDA, so we kind of
Yeah.
cannot blast it to all the
Yeah.
people.
We were
Um,
close.
yeah, so that's why, because we sign NDAs, we have a relationship with brokers. The deal that they send to us, we have private Zooms that we host and we go through these deals, give feedback, etc. So we cannot just do it
I
here.
mean, I'm a broker myself for financing, so I
I
totally
love
get
it.
NDAs and
Okay.
NCNDs and all that.
So
Yeah, I
would you
get it.
want
Cool.
someone to blast your deal if they send NDA?
No, absolutely not. No, I get it. Absolutely. I was just wondering because I understand this is a go no go. I brokered financing for mobile homes in the past, but I want to get better at it because I want to start buying for myself.
Love
So
Yeah.
it.
that's why I was asking.
So That's a good match. Definitely join our private Zooms and we can talk more about that.
And this is a good, I mean, this is a good move forward or not tool. Like you can easily shoot an LOI over based off what we just talked about, and then move forward because all the deep underwriting happens after they're ready to move forward. Like you're going to validate all your numbers, you're going to get your bank statements, you're going to do all the stuff that matters. And if what they said is not accurate, or your assumptions that the broker gave you weren't true, then you just won't move forward.
Yeah, it's back to no go. Yeah,
Mhm.
understood.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, y'all.
Do we have any more questions? Anyone? Let me check the chat. David is asking if the calculator we showed could we get a copy. I'm not sure what kind of calculator you're referring to. Just basic numbers. You will guys subscribe to Tyler's YouTube. You will get a copy of this video. You can go back and review it, take screenshots, etc. If you have questions, just raise your hand.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be about the underwriting today. If you have any questions about a mobile home park or anything, feel free to ask.
David is asking also. David has a lot of good questions. David, would you want to turn your camera on? He says, would potential pads be used to calculate the for value add?
No, not potential pads. No, absolutely not. Um, Empty pads, but if it's just raw land that isn't developed yet, there's too many variables to include that in there. Like a lot of times, either the city won't let you move forward with it, or it's not economically feasible to do so. And what I mean by that is you may not be able to make enough money to support you doing it. Or there may not be enough demand. Like one of the arguments is if they can do that, why haven't they already done it?
Yeah, it's like park has 50% vacancy, but you can value add and
Yeah.
add extra pads.
Yeah, that's right. Like the park's got 50% vacancy, but you could go get the city and you could add 50 more pads. So if it doesn't have the demand to fill the other 50, you probably don't need to add 50 more.
So Joey is asking, what is a T12? That's a good question.
It's a trailing 12 is what they'll call it, but basically it's 12-month financial statement broken down by month. So you'll have January through December, or it doesn't have to be January through December, but it's the last 12 months of the operations of the park, showing each month's income and expenses by line item so that you can compare and see the differences month by month. And that's one of the ways you really get into what the park is, how it's been operating. The sad thing is a lot of the mom and pops won't have that. That's why I said that the estimation and I'm talking about the bank statements because they don't have very good record keeping. But if it's listed with the broker, they will have some form, most of the time estimated. Like if you see the same expense, like repairs, and it's $500 a month for 12 months, you got a problem.
Or if you don't see some expenses that you should see.
Yeah.
But that's kind of the good stuff when we go through that and we have the checklist. David, hello.
Oh, yeah. Hello there.
David?
So you were saying then if it's like a small outfit, a mom and pop type situation, they may not have the T12. So what would you do in replace of that then?
You would want bank statements. And that's not going to show every expense either because if they're a mom and pop, they're probably not depositing all their money or running all their expenses through their bank statements. But you would do everything you could to validate. It's like you would talk to them. You would have an idea what the expenses should be. You would request their bank statements, to see what the actual expenses are, versus what they said, and to verify deposits. You want to see if they can show you the money they say it's making.
Yeah,
Um,
I got you. Okay,
yeah,
great. Thanks.
Yeah, and also
yep, no problem.
if you can get T24, T36 and look at all the numbers for the last couple of years. The more you know,
Absolutely.
the better.
Yeah, for sure. Like I wouldn't just request a T12. I mean, if they have it available, definitely get the last 2 or 3 years. You know.
Okay. Great. Thanks.
Yep, no problem. Thanks, David.
Thank you for good questions. Do we have any more questions? So, okay, yeah, and Kim is
Oh,
saying
yeah.
that 12 months of income and expenses, watch for pro forma. Yes, a lot of times when we receive just offer memorandum, there's not much that you can do. You can look at that, you can kind of run numbers, but you cannot make any decision based on offer memorandum or pro forma because they will tell you again expenses 20% when it's 40 and numbers will be way out. Like we look at a deal this week, the actual cap rate was 5, but the pro forma was saying 15. So of course they're very optimistic.
Yeah, remember, you don't want to pay for that potential. They try to sell it to you, but you want to pay for how you want to pay for how the park is operating now as closely as you can anyway.
Yes, David.
Sorry, I thought of one other thing when you were showing that chart that had the ratios on it, and you were showing if it had city sewer or city water and all those things. Is there a place you could go to look at what would be good numbers when you're doing your calculations? Because sometimes we've looked at these parks and we end up with the result of a calculation, but we don't know whether it's good or not. Is, 30% good or, is 80, right? What is a good place to find what are the good results mean?
Talking about
That
it.
doesn't make sense.
Are you talking about for expense ratios? Are you talking about like cap
Numbers
rate?
in general, numbers in general. I guess that's part of the underwriting. You got to know what
Well,
the underwriting
okay,
is,
okay.
but I'm just saying,
What's a good net income?
yeah,
Okay, like so if you were wanting to do like what's a good cap rate for the area, that's when
yeah,
like if
that
you
whole
go
thing.
back, like that's you could go to that apartmentloanstore.com. And if you
Okay,
just Google cap rate and then you go to suburban C class and you add three
okay,
points to
that
it.
whole thing that you said.
Yeah,
Okay, okay,
that's how you can get an estimate. I mean, of course, talking to brokers is the other way too. Like if you call several brokers and ask them what stuff's going for in the area, you'll get
yeah,
a feel and what they sold for. But that's usually a pretty good estimate if you don't know.
okay,
But as far as cap rate goes, and as far as net income goes, like you said, that's an underwriting thing into itself. It's gonna like is there seller financing, because that's going to change too. Because I'm concerned about can I make money and can I pay my debt? So,
right,
like so we get net income, it's before debt service. That's why I kind of tried to harp on that a little bit earlier. Like, yeah, that's a starting point, but then I got to know, well, what's my debt going to be? Is it 12%? Is it 8%? Did you get lucky and get a six, somehow? Whatever my debt service amount and rate is, and my terms, I guess, altogether, because whatever my payment's going to be, that's going to come into play there too. On is it a good deal or not? Because
One thing that that prompted this question is because you said your debt service is at, say 8% or whatever, and your income was whatever different percent. And you said, well, typically you want to have a spread of 3%. That's the kind of thing that I'm trying to get
yeah,
familiar with. What are the good expected numbers that you want to see?
nothing's hard and fast, but really, if you go back and look at it, you kind of want to buy 3 points higher than what your debt service rate is.
Okay. Okay.
And it's not always easy, but like, because sometimes we have to buy close, but we know that because there's under market rents, we can take it up quickly and get to a point, that we're good enough. But
Gotcha.
if I'm to your point, if I'm borrowing money at 8% and the park is fully stabilized or has like very minimal value add, and they've got it listed at 5 or 6%, there's no way we could buy that deal because we're going to be losing money forever.
Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, guys. If no more questions, we will be wrapping it up. Was it helpful, everyone?
Yeah, did any value? Did anybody understand it better?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. Appreciate
Yeah,
your time.
this will help you to understand basic underwriting. Again, it was not something that you will absolutely decide, but it will help you to understand better. You will get a recording so you can go back because a lot of new terminology. I wanted to make it even more complicated. Tyler said to remove like half of the slides, so but it's all good. We will go and we will go also deeper. But if you want to join actual cases, how we underwrite, how we go through deals, join our bird dogging program. Be happy to see you there.
Yeah, because you can always get overloaded with information, but like I think that's tried to make it as simple as possible. Like if you can go through those things, and like if you need to rewatch, but if you can go through those and easily get to a number, and it's close, then you can like send an LOI or make an offer and move forward. If you know that you're like $3 or $4 million over, then you know that you're wasting your time, and you just need to watch the deal and see if they drop it. If it sits there for 100 more days, maybe at that point you can revisit and see if they're willing to accept something lower. But that's it, guys. I appreciate y'all, man.
Thank you, guys. Talk to you next month. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.